The other primary thing you'll be doing for profit is farming. The magical melody, plant strawberries, cocoa, and then eggplants. And nothing but those crops. You'll notice a steady decrease in profit as it progresses from spring to winter, and it's very disheartening. You have to actually unlock strawberries by shipping enough cabbages first, just like in Friends Mineral Town, and I hate that. It's so arbitrary. Why can't you just have all of the crops unlocked from the very beginning? Tomatoes are awful because even if you use fertilizer and plant them in the best soil, they're always guaranteed to say they need more sun and ship for a pathetic price. What is that, a glitch? You also have to unlock fertilizer for some stupid reason by shipping 10 limestones. And getting enough limestones requires going to the second floor of the mine and breaking every rock. And this takes up so much stamina and time that you'll be required to take multiple trips to finally get enough limestone. And because of the whole time management system thing, you're pretty much guaranteed to spend multiple different days trying to unlock the fertilizer in the first place. What does limestone have to do with fertilizer when fertilizer is made from either chemicals or manure? And why isn't fertilizer locked from the start? And why does limestone have such a pathetic shipping price when you won't need to ship it so soon? Some crops can be bought from the seed shop, but others you're forced to grow yourself. At least it's better than Friends Mineral Town, where absolutely no crops can be bought from shops, and you need to grow every crop yourself to complete the recipe list. And you know how else it's better? Planting seeds when it's raining actually doesn't cause them to wash away in the rain. You can plant seeds literally whenever you want in Magical Melody. Well, except in the winter, obviously. You can't get away with that in Friends Mineral Town, because realism. And yes, it is possible for you to plant crops anywhere in the world, and so you can potentially have a massive amount of crops to take care of with no harvest sprites to help you. But if you do what I do and only plant 8 seeds, then having to harvest every crop by yourself isn't as big of a deal. Even harvesting the crops from 8 seeds takes all day. Imagine how much longer it'd take if you planted seeds on every single part of the town. The recipe list does a great job giving you a reason to keep playing the game for a long time. In Friends Mineral Town, that is. In Magical Melody, you have almost all the recipes unlocked from the start. There's no increasing the quality of the recipe, and you can only cook with one cooking utensil at a time. Although you can at least use more than one of one type of food to cooking for various results. I like the aging pot, the dyeing pot, and the mixing pot that gives you excellent stamina increasing medicine. Cooking is superior in Friends of Mineral Town, even if it feels more satisfying looking at the food in Magical Melody because it always looks so delicious. Ellie leaves, despite their guide day recipe, are still vastly superior to stamina increasing medicine, so make as much of them as you can. They've got a really weird recipe where you basically got to get a whole bunch of weeds, make them into every different type of failed recipe, and then use practically every cooking implement on them, as well as a Turbo Jolt XL and a Body Geyser XL. It sounds crazy, but it works. So farming is obviously very simple. It only took me 3 minutes to talk about it. I mean, you just water the crops every day. Ranching is definitely the most tedious and complicated part. But farming and ranching isn't all you'll be doing. You can also go into the mines. And mines absolutely suck, for 2 reasons. One, you can be sent backwards a random amount of floors when you're trying to go down the mines in the only fast way, which makes getting to the bottom of the mine extremely frustrating. At least you can learn to recognize the black horizontal line indicating the staircase hidden beneath the dirt and dig through the mines a lot faster. And you feel incredibly awesome when you get good at this. I wish you could do that in Friends of Mineral Town. Like in that game, the mine's floors are randomized. Most of the time. I think crystals are supposed to be more likely to have better priced stuff, but I feel like that's not really true. If anything, they're just more likely to inconvenience you with the second worst part of mining in this game. The gases. There's several different colors of mine gas for you to deal with. Pink gas is actually great because it restores your health, multiple times in a row. And I wish Friends of Middletown had it instead of requiring you to bring stamina restoring food with you. Yellow gas is also great because it allows you to move at the speed that you should have been able to move in the first place. I love how fast it makes you. Purple gas changes your analog stick controls, but I just do it very quickly, and it feels really satisfying being able to control your character the way you want, even under the effects of the purple gas. Now that rewards skill. There's also this mythical white gas that supposedly removes the effects of other gas, but I've never seen it. I only know about it because one of the TV shows in the game tell you about it. So I feel like it's a gas type that was cut out of the game for being pointless. So why didn't they remove the text telling you about it? Well, at least it's better than in Friends of Mineral Town, which is so full of typos, grammatical errors, spelling mistakes, and outright lies, that's a wonder Natsume didn't get fired for the terrible translation job. That's not to say Magical Melody is free of bad writing. For example, take a look at this cutscene, where Basil returns to town because he shipped flowers and he's talking as if he's returning because it's spring again. But look at the ground! It's very clearly summer, and yet the dialogue praising spring doesn't mention this at all. That's more laziness if anything. A real translation error is the one where the mayor on TV tells you that today is the Star Festival, when the Star Festival is actually tomorrow. How did they screw this up? Anyways, orange gas is easily the worst gas to experience, because it paralyzes you. And to add insult to injury, the time's still ticking in the mines. You know, I take it back. That's the second worst thing about the mines. If time is frozen when you're indoors, and the mines are indoors, then why the hell does the clock still keep ticking? Mineral Town avoids this problem, for the most part. Time does pass between you choosing to enter the deeper floor and you spawning in it. So you'll still need a few hours of free time to reach the bottom of the mine, but it's better than taking the entire day and then some. Why doesn't time freeze in the mines? It's so inconsistent. Just like in Mineral Town, there's an ore mine and a jewel mine that you can only enter in the winter by moving across a frozen lake. And I love the way that jewels look in this game. It's breathtaking, incredibly beautiful. I also love how you can make them into rings and brooches thanks to the blacksmith. Although since all of the girls can be easily wooed without them, they're ultimately worthless for doing anything but making money with them. Just like in real life. Oh, and they're good for finishing up the shipping list too. In Mineral Town, they have jewels and ores unique to the game, like the sand rose and adamantite, which is required to build makers because bullshit. But the jewels sell for a ridiculously tiny price. Why? The ores in Magical Melody sell for too little too. Less than $4 for a gold ore the size of your head? Really? But at least the jewels feel like they make a lot more of your money. Oh yeah, I love how the game immediately tells you how much money you get from shipping something Magical Melody by showing a number coming out of the bin. It really makes you feel the money you earned. In Mineral Town, that cash balance screen is a nice touch, but it's not nearly as satisfying. Anyways, here's why you go to the bottom of the mines. Not just to get a note, there's other reasons too. Getting to the bottom of the regular mine has a slightly annoying child give you a power berry, which increases the maximum your stamina meter can have. You can also dig around at the bottom of the mine finding gold pieces on every square you till, but it doesn't give you as much money as you'd expect. Gold pieces generally don't give you much money anyways. Getting to the bottom of the lake mine allows you to try fishing for a kingfish. And the only way you'll know you need to bring your fishing rod is if you befriended Tim enough for him to send you a letter telling you about it. And I hate how the fish disappears after you fish it up, because it just forces you to go through the entire mine all over again to catch another one to help complete your recipe list. I don't know why you can't catch two of them in one go. I hate how you have to gain experience for tools to upgrade them. Why? That's padding. I especially hate how charging up a tool before using it only counts as one use according to both games. So you pretty much have to constantly use it without charging up to gain experience without wasting a whole lot of stamina. Once you've finally gotten enough experience points to upgrade your tools for some arbitrary reason, you can upgrade them to make them better. But it's generally not worth buying every single upgrade possible. Some tools, like the fishing rod, you're better off just buying the final upgrade and that's it. Magical Melody handles the upgrading much better because you have the option of just buying the tool upgrades in the tool shop, albeit at a much higher price. So you aren't necessarily forced to go to the mines to get the proper ore and have to go without using your tool for a few days while a blacksmith fixes it. Unlike in Friends of Mineral Town. Most of the fully upgraded tools in Magical Melody have charge moves that are pretty useful, except for like Goddess Signal, which is extremely disappointing. You can't charge off the fishing rod. You can only hold X for a while and cause it to be cast out a lot further in the water. It's only when you're really in larger than usual fish that your character starts acting like he's charging it up. And the timer keeps on ticking when you're taking a long time reeling the fish in, which is cheap in a game that's based around time management. The Goddess Hammer is only something you want to use when you've removed all the stones in the area of the boulder, because you don't want to destroy irreplaceable fence material with a shockwave. I think that the most useful thing about fully upgraded tools is how they use up such a small amount of stamina. It would have been better if they showed you a large square while charging up tools that indicated exactly what the area of effect was, instead of requiring you to have to figure out on your own the right way to use the Goddess watering can, which I initially dismissed as useless until I figured out how to use it effectively. It doesn't help that in Friends of Mineral Town, the fully upgraded water can works by watering every crop in front of you, but in Magical Melody, you spin around with the watering can and water stuff that's around you. You pretty much have to refill your watering can every time you use it for this purpose. And I hate how they changed the controls for refilling the watering can between games. In this game, you press A to refill it. And in Friends of Mineral Town, you press B, which makes more sense because B is a tool button, and you're doing something with the tool, but it makes it hard to go back to Magical Melody. Friends of Mineral Town actually has a whole tedious and season-long side quest that allows you to get mythic tools, the most useful tools of all, and tools that are so tedious to get that you won't ever want to go through the trouble of getting them more than twice. I would prefer it if the mystical tools were just the mythic tools, instead of requiring you to dig all the way through the mines from top to bottom, rely on a guide to find out that you have to break rocks on certain floors to get the mythic ore, or dig on certain floors to get cursed tools, and have to rely on a guide yet again to find out exactly what to do to uncurse the tools and make it blessed. Sometimes you have to get the priest Carter to bless it a certain amount of times, which is tedious because it costs a lot of money each time, and he's only capable of being used for that purpose at a certain time of day under certain circumstances. And sometimes you have to go to a festival and repeatedly use the cursed tool for multiple minutes to make it become uncursed. But you won't think to repeatedly use a tool because just one use of a cursed tool drains your stamina like nothing else. So you pretty much need a guide to know that your stamina inexplicably doesn't decrease when you're either in a festival or in a place where a cutscene has just happened and time hasn't unfrozen because you haven't changed screens yet. My point is, getting the mythic tools is a tedious chore. And I really would have preferred it if they just had the mystical tools be just as useful as the mythic tools instead. You're still gonna go all the way through each of the mines either way, but that's because you want to get the teleport stone. Yes, the teleport stone, you heard me right. Something that every single Harvest Moon game should have. It's disappointing in that you could only warp to the entrance of a screen, or warp to standing directly in front of a door to a building. I assumed that you could warp to literally any part of any screen in the game, which would be far more useful, especially in a game that's based around time management, where every second counts. Still, I love the teleport stone, but you know what I absolutely despise about it? It doesn't actually appear at the bottom of the mine in year 1. Not only is its mere existence a guide, dang it, but so is the time that you can access it. Imagine my surprise going all the way through the mine just for the sake of getting the teleport stone, and finding out that I was completely unable to get it because I was too early. Oh, there's also some other gems you get by finding all the tiny gems making up them. And they're totally fucking useless. Oh, the Gem of Truth tells you how much stamina you have. Because I totally can't figure that out on my own. The Kappa Gem restores fatigue points over time, but only when you have it equipped, which completely destroys its usefulness. You can't just equip it indoors and expect it to work. And chances are you'll have the teleport stone by the time you have it and won't be traveling long distances on foot anymore. So it's not like you're going to be using it during that time either. Same goes for the Goddess Gem restoring stamina. What a disappointment. The best feature that Mineral Town offers that Magical Melody doesn't is the harvest sprites being willing to do chores in your farm for free. Well, not for free. I consider giving them flour every day to keep their affection up, paying them. And you do need to keep them liking you, trust me. I really hate how you have to repeatedly do minigames to increase their skills before you can rely on them to work in the farm at all. And the minigames get progressively harder to win until you're better off not doing them. Why? Because if you lose a minigame, the harvest sprite will actually get less skilled. Whatever happened to learning from your mistakes? I thought making mistakes was supposed to make you more skilled because you could learn from them and get better. And you can't really be time efficient about it and make all of the Harvest Sprite minigames at once. It has to be one sprite at a time, which gets tedious and repetitive very quickly. But trust me when I say that it's worth it. It's worth having an entire army of tiny elves to walk through everything, doing all of your farm chores for you. I recommend having half of them assigned to be harvesters, with half of them being waterers. And yes, you do want to hire all of the sprites at once, because they're going to cover each other's mistakes and make sure all of your work gets done. I recommend hiring some of the sprites a day before the rest of them, so that when the sprites run out of work days to return home to be hired again, you still have some sprites working on your farm. That's right, you can't assign the harvest sprites to always be working on your farm every single day. For some reason, you can only tell them to work on your farm for a maximum of 1 week, and then have to rehire them afterwards. Sprites, despite being able to magically walk through the borders of your farm so that you can't pay them for their job, are inexplicably incapable of working during a blizzard or typhoon, which I find extremely frustrating and unacceptable. But surprisingly, that actually doesn't completely destroy their usefulness. For one reason, and one reason only. Your farm is huge. You can plant a gigantic amount of crops, to the point where the initial planting for the first day of each season takes up the entirety of the day. And if you have all of your crops ready to harvest at once, I can guarantee you that harvesting all of them without staying up really late is impossible. Hire the sprites for harvesting, is what they're there for. The only problem is that you can't tell them not to harvest certain crops. So you'll have to plant the crops you want to put in your fridge at the southernmost part of the farm, and rush to harvest all 9 of them before the sprites get to them. That's tedious. I don't know why they thought that was a good idea. It pretty much forces you to only plant one of the crop that you're trying to get for recipes. And yes, getting the extremely useful mythic watering can does allow you to water all of your farm with just 4 uses of it, but it doesn't make the watering sprays useless. Far from it. See, you have to refill your watering can for each use because the game doesn't give you nearly enough water for it. And it uses up a lot of stamina. And while it doesn't take nearly as long as not using it at all, it still takes multiple hours to water all of your field by yourself. And I hate how you can't rehire the sprites before 8 o'clock or after 6 o'clock at night. The harvest sprites have their problems, but ultimately, I absolutely love them. They're a great addition to the game, and free up your time for mining and fishing, the later of which can make you incredibly rich if you fish all the pier in the summer or autumn with the mythic fishing rod. So how's the fishing in these games? Well, I like it. Wanna know why? It keeps it simple. None of this big the cat ridiculousness here. Just press and hold X to reel in the fish. That's it. Well, that's not entirely it. You have to throw the fishing rod into the part of the water where the current carries the rod to the fish. It sucks when the fishing bait or whatever is carried past the fish and the fish ignore it. And it really sucks when it's carried into a wall, which happens all the goddamn time in the lake, which is without a doubt the worst fishing area in the game. The river is the best fishing spot, but it's also pretty annoying because it has the most worthless fish ever designed, the dace, which nobody likes as a gift except the dolphin, and you can't make sashimi out of it, so all you can do with it is put it in the bonfire and eat it. And it doesn't even restore that much of your health. At least fishing for kingfish is actually possible in this game, because all it entails is holding down X for a lot longer than usual with the fully upgraded fishing rod. In Friends of Mineral Town, the game expects you to press B so damn instantaneously when you hook a kingfish that it's fucking impossible to accomplish it unless you're lucky. The problem with fishing Friends of Mineral Town is that it essentially develops into a waiting game where you get so bored that you stop paying attention and just stare into space. And then the game punishes you for that by telling you to immediately press and hold the B button to reel in a fish. And you lose it if you don't react in time. You're not likely to have a fast reaction time when you're just waiting around staring into space not knowing when the next fish will bite. It may be extremely annoying having the fishing bait land on the fish and make it disappear in Magical Melody, or having the fish completely ignore it, or having it go past the fish entirely, but at least you have an idea when the fish will bite. And I swear, you could wait forever before holding X and still not lose the fish. I can't compliment that enough. Fishing Friends of Mineral Town doesn't feel like a fair challenge because you're not accustomed to reacting quickly when you're told to wait around bored doing nothing for a while with no way of knowing when you have to react again. And I have a strong suspicion that the only reason it is this way is because of technological limitations. Or the developers thought was limitations. Is it really that memory intensive to have the shadows of fish under the water moving around and grabbing onto the fishing rod's bait? The tiny pond west of Riverside is nothing but crawfish, which Ray the fisherman hates for some reason. Riverside property has the best fishing spot in the game, or at least the place where it's easiest to catch a lot of them, which is very useful for making sashimi from Maria. The ocean is full of nothing but poisonous blowfish for the most part, but oddly enough, feeding it to the dolphin has no consequences. In both games, the different species of fish you can catch depends not only on the location, but also on the season. But in Magical Melody, you pretty much need a guide to find out how to catch all the fish. While in Friends of Mineral Town, you can at least tune into the fishing show on Mondays. Oh yeah, you can interact with animals in this game. You can pick them up and feed them to fill up their affection meter, and after a certain point, they'll waste your time by coming to your house in a slightly heartwarming cutscene that you can't skip. My favorite animal is the cat, even though I'm allergic to cats. But by far the most useful one is the dolphin, which brings you to an island full of unique fish if you get to one heart. You should keep feeding it fish after that though, because animals and people tend to have their affection for you decrease after a long time of not being given gifts, just like in every Harvest Moon game. My least favorite animal in the game is the mole. Apparently it damages your crops, although I barely remember him ever doing that, but I still hate him for that on principle alone. In theory, it should be easy to hit him with a tool and make him vanish, but in practice, because the game insists on making you walk extremely slowly when you're holding any kind of tool and stopping for a long animation whenever you use it, the only way you can hit the mole is to get it running into a wall, because it'll keep on moving forwards while you're forced to stop. That just screams bad design. It's much better in Friends of Mineral Town when it immediately pops up if you till the soil enough, and then you can instantly switch to the hammer and whack it. The mole whacking note is easily one of my least favorite notes in the game because of just how tedious it is. It's random where the moles appear, and all you can do is wander around the town constantly going into buildings, visiting places you remember seeing moles at, and always keep a hammer with you, because for some arbitrary reason, it only counts if you hit it with a hammer. One of the tools you're least likely to have in your inventory when it's not the winter. Moles are a lot more harmless than they seem, especially if you build a fence around your crops. But I still hate them, especially because sending a mole into Jamie's ranch doesn't do anything negative to his crops. I would have loved to have been able to do that, and better yet, with absolutely no consequences and nothing but benefits. But no, because that would be too much fun. You can't have fun with your rival. All you can do is compete with him. And competing with a cheating AI isn't fun. Some animals only appear in certain seasons or even under certain weather, and the odd thing is that some animals refuse to appear in the animal list. Like the frog, for example. Is this a glitch or really glaring developer oversight? In Friends of Mineral Town, there's animals too, but all you can do is talk to them, making them a completely pointless waste of development time.